Recording in progress.
Allow me also to please invite my lady, Justice Flavia Luswata, to please join the high table. As the old adage goes, every long journey starts with one step. And I think today we've come to the completion of very many steps that have shaped how our role as women is played out in peace and security, and to share with you a lot of what has been going on in the few years regarding the customization and operationalization of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325. May I once again recognize our Deputy Vice Chancellor, the UN Women Representative, our Lady Justice Flavia, Deputy Principal, the Deans, all other representatives who are here today, and particularly we are joined by the community where a lot of this work was done. You're very welcome from Arua, Iganga, Nebi, Jinja, Mbale, and Gulu. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion. May I now, with pleasure, ask Dr. Vinny to please lead us in a word of prayer.
Let us humble ourselves for prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the protection. May you guide us so that whatever we are going to do, we may do it for your greater glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Dr. Vinny. May I now ask us humbly to please stand up and we sing the anthems. We shall start with the Makerere University anthem, followed by, or rather, national anthem, Makerere University, the Norwegian national anthem, Uganda anthem, and then the East African anthem. I take this singular honor to please invite the Principal Investigator of the Strengthening of the Implementation of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 in Uganda through research, publication, training, advocacy, and strong partnership. You're very welcome, Dr. Helen.
Dear participants present, I'll stand on the protocol already observed in the interest of time. A very good morning and welcome to this very special, unique, and very important event in Uganda. I have the honor to introduce to you the team which actually did this work. May I please invite all the co-principal investigators to stand up for recognition. Dr. Charlotte Mafumbo, who was here as our MC, Dr. Veneranda Mbabazi, allow me to go back a bit. Dr. Charlotte Mafumbo is the head of Department of History, Archaeology and Heritage Studies. Dr. Veneranda Mbabazi, who is also the head of Department of Religion and Peace Studies. I have Dr. Samson Barije, our male champion. We have Dr. Elizabeth Nansubuga from COBAMS. She's the statistician. We have Mr. Isaac Tibasima, and I have Dr. Kanakulia Dixon, who is not able to be with us because he's in a PhD viva. Dear guests, allow me also introduce to you my very special guests in the audience. I have our key partner, Mr. Charlie Allen, from the Institute of Economics and Peace, all the way from Australia. They are our partners with the Rotary Peace Center, and they are with us this week, taking our students through the positive peace philosophy. And in the room, I am honored to have those that we trained. Everyone that you see in the room, dear guests, are very choicy. Our guests from the Uganda Police Force, please wave. I do have guests from Uganda Prison Services. We are expecting the UPDF to be represented anytime. We are also honored to have guests all the way from the Renzoris. Honorable, please stand up. Together with Mr. Farouk Chibaba. They are heading our platform that was formed in the Renzoris. I am honored also to have the minister in charge of the Chabazinga with a team from Busoga region. So she's with PAO, but we are also expecting the regional Kadi of Busoga region to be joining us anytime. In the house, we also have different nationalities. Our special Rotary Peace Fellows who are here in their second last week. Please, Peace Fellows, wave. And I wanted to be a little bit selfish by letting the guests know who is here. So I want Liberia to wave. Liberia, Somaliland, Mozambique, Somalia, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Now they are looking at me. Let them see how I forget them. Nigeria. We do also have in the house Sudan. We have Kenya. We have Myanmar. We do have Ghana. We have Ethiopia. We have Germany / USA. We should be having South Sudan, but he'll be joining us again. We do have Uganda again / USA. And I think I've accounted for all my... Oh, we have Cameroon. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Uganda was mentioned. Fellows, don't take me on. Did I forget any of you? You are all here. Okay, wonderful. Australian. So we have a little bit of the United States of Africa in this room, looking at matters that actually pertain to us. Without further ado, allow me invite the Dean, who will be inviting our next guest. Professor Patrick Mangeni, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Helen Nambalirwa. Our guests, the UN Women Representative in Uganda, my dear Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, and our guests are for the day. We do greatly feel privileged for the time you have taken off to be with us today. Is quite a busy time. As my Deputy Principal, College of Humanities might attest, there's quite a number of things running across our college and the university as well. But we don't take it for granted that you have been able to come and share with us on this very important day when we share outputs from our activities and partnerships outside Makerere. Our dear guests from the police force, we do specially welcome you here. Those from the prison service, that uniform is so close to me, because the uniform that raised me and the uniform that made me what I am now, not that I was behind bars, but that my dad worked in the prisons force, number 567, I still remember that number. I don't know, they still bear numbers these days. Yeah, so want to thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I want to recall some time back when the investigators, the core PI and the PI, Dr. Nambalirwa and Dr. Charlotte Mafumbo, came to share with me about the proposal and the engagement they were starting with the UN. And they have kept me updated up to the last day that leads to our presentation today. And to me, as the dean of the school, I found these extremely important, both in terms of the subject it was handling and the value that it was giving in terms of women in peace and security. I want to greatly appreciate that. And I do also pray that as we continue the deliberations today, that we shall fully bring a brick of value to the activities of the UN in the area of peace and security. And Helen, can you just, Helen? Yes, if you could just be here for a moment. I was just trying to confirm some information. We received information that the guests of honor are the State Minister of Gender, Honorable Peace Mutuza, has lost a mother, and she will not be in position to be with us. May we just recognize a moment of silence for the departed. may she be granted eternal peace. And with that prayer, it's my honor to invite the Deputy Principal of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. Awich, kindly step forward and share a word with us.
Thank you very much, Professor Patrick Mangeni. The UN country representative, UN Women country representative, the Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, presented by the first Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Professor Huma Kakumba, the Dean, School of Liberal and Performing Arts, the principal investigators and members of the research team, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Thank you very much for this opportunity to come here and participate in the launch of this very important study, which was done to strengthen the implementation of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 in Uganda. Of course, UN Security Council Resolution 1325 aims at enhancing women's meaningful participation in peace building. It is recognized that in many cases, the participation and involvement of women in peace building are not given due consideration, or the involvement or the actual participation of women are not given their place in the order of things, and yet women play a very important role. And of course, we also know that women are the majority in society, but in many cases we neglect their participation. And of course, over the years, there has been male dominance in all these things, right from creating the agenda for peace engagements, peace talks, community peace building initiatives. So this particular project comes in very, very handy, especially that it promotes engagement with cultural institutions, the local government, the security sector, represented here by the police, the prisons, the judiciary, local and other civil society organizations. Of course, enhancing meaningful participation of the different stakeholders in trying to promote, to enhance, the participation of women in peace building. Of course, we cannot have meaningful peace in society if we don't involve all the key stakeholders in this kind of processes. What I can also note is that this project contributes to Makerere's new strategic plan focus, which is on increasing our internationalization, working with development partners, of which we recognize the Norwegian government, which has partly supported this study, the different countries, of course, that support the UN, through which the funds also came through the UN Women. The other important thing that I want to note is that our strategic plan 2020-2030 focuses on taking the university to the people, trying to enhance Makerere's reach out to the community, trying to enhance Makerere's involvement and engagement with local governments, trying to enhance Makerere's involvement with local institutions, and considering that government is now moving towards a new development approach called the Paris Development Model, it is my own view that all this engagement, including meaningful involvement of women in peace building, can actually be done within that particular setting. And the university looks forward to supporting the government in implementing the Paris Development Model. And so in this case then, this project is very timely. We recognize its relevance in increasing our partnership, our collaboration, and of course the College of Humanities and Social Science is at the center of all these things. We always say that choose, as we call it, the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, is the soul of the university. So a lot of things actually rotates around the college. And if you look at all the soft issues in terms of engagement, in terms of how do we involve people, issues around participation, it actually has its home within the college. As you are also aware, we have the School of Women and Gender Studies also within the department, which has also been working with many partners in this. On this note, I would like to recognize the Rotary Peace Center, which implemented this particular study, and the role of the key investigators that participated in it. We thank you for enhancing the college engagement with our stakeholders and making the university relevant in the eyes of our people. I take note that one of the key lessons from this study is that there is need for more meaningful engagement or participation of women in peace building. And of course, we also take note that this cannot come on its own without the support from the development partners. So we hope our development partners will continue supporting this kind of initiatives so that we can continue making contributions to enhancing the meaningful involvement of women in peace building. And this is important in enhancing not only meaningful coexistence in society, but in giving adequate recognition to our women, to our mothers, to our sisters, in terms of their participation in enhancing peace at community level. I think I'll stop there. Madam MC, I don't know whether I have to do anything more. I have to invite? Okay, I'll take this opportunity now to invite the Vice Chancellor to come and address the meeting.
Many thanks to you, Principal, College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Yeah, distinguished guests, UN Women Country Representative, the Ken Indieli, Your Lordship, Justice Kisache, did I get the name correct? Oh, Justice Luswata, my apologies for that. Lady Justice Luswata. Yeah, the Principal, College of Humanities, represented here by the Deputy Principal, Dr. Eric Awich, the Dean, Professor Mangeni, the Principal Investigators and Organizers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I bring to you greetings from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, who is out of the country, but in his capacity, I'm the acting VC and the Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academic affairs and research. Also, on my own note, I first and foremost want to congratulate the group, the PI, the investigators, Dr. Helen Nkavala and your team. Can we join hands together to congratulate this wonderful team? As in charge of academic affairs and research, this brings a lot of pleasure and also a great opportunity for us always to showcase what the university is capable of doing, especially the arm of championing university knowledge transfer and strategic partnerships. Because in this, we are able to see a great accomplishments in terms of generation of knowledge, but also in terms of transferring that knowledge that is very, very, very important for transforming our society and our nation at large. I am truly excited to be here in this dissemination event where Makerere University team is able to showcase one of the great accomplishments in engaging our strategic agenda that blends harmoniously well with the global agenda and the sustainable development goals, and in many ways looking at the issues that affect humanity across the spectrum. This is part of our mantra and the role of the country to build solid research and also involve ourselves in excellent teaching and learning, and also engage with the community that we serve. I must congratulate the Rotary Peace Center, where Dr. Helen Kavala champions the leadership, but also the activities. And maybe for the benefit of the guests here, the Rotary Peace Center is one of its kind on the African continent. The Rotary Peace Center that was given to Makerere University through a competitive, Makerere hosting this Rotary Peace Center went through a very, very extended and elaborate process, under which would emerged the most competitive university to host this center. So as part of the World Hubs, we want to congratulate you for the excellent job that is done. The UN Women Project on women, peace and security agenda shows a great confidence and trust in us as a university. I want to thank you so much, the UN Women representative, for our continued support, but also the cooperation and with the Makerere University. We agree that these networks are important for the university because they not only show our commitment to serving the nation beyond the walls of Makerere University, but they also show our potential in trying to capture the greater needs of our community and also be able to inform policy and the practices that can better the livelihoods of our communities. It is something that we are willing to do, to continue doing as Makerere University, to build the confidence in our society, in our communities. On many occasions, the community has wondered, well, you churn out many degrees, but how does the degrees connect to us? We are saying that when we partner with the UN Women and other collaborative agencies of government and international agencies, we are able to answer that question that is often posed by our rural and local communities on how we touch base with them. As we may all be aware, women play a critical role in the maintenance of peace and security, and indeed the adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on Women, Peace and Security agenda aims to ensure that this is really attainable. The baseline report shall present the findings on the state of women, peace and security in this country, but it will also try to show its alignment with the existing experiences elsewhere in our region. Because issues of peace and issues of security transcend the national borders. They are issues that go around the region, but they are also issues that affect the continent and the world at large. Because when there is a problem, just like we are having challenges now in the part of the world between Russia and Ukraine, you are aware that the rest of the world continues to suffer, the escalating prices and all the levels of suffering around those nations and across the globe. They are all issues that really make relevance and credence to the need and the importance of peace and security. So we're also aware that this effort will align itself to the National Action Plan 3, the National Development Plan 3 of Uganda, and how this can be instituted and implemented in our country and across the region. As Makerere University, we are proud to be part of this process, the process of generating knowledge for society transformation and development. And as the principle indicated here, you cannot talk about development outside the shadows of peace and security. And also you cannot talk about development outside the concentration or the efforts or the suffering of the women. So we are looking forward to these initiatives and continued support, and also to try to answer the questions that the survey has tried to deal with, to escalate them and scale them up to greater levels. The questions that this survey brings out, in addition to the information, should also be a challenge to us as humanity, should also invite us to find means of enhancing and supporting women's meaningful participation in issues of peace and security agenda. For us, the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 is important in a university that believes in affirmative action and also that is willing to encourage and provide support to female students from the diverse backgrounds. Just by show of hands here, we have seen that Makerere University is able to host the summary of African continent under the realm of the Rotary Peace Center. So I want to thank you so much in those efforts. So I want to assure you that as the university, our distinguished guests, we have great honor in this and confidence in this baseline report that is going to be launched and presented. As we also try to celebrate 100 years of existence, Makerere University will continue to engage these initiatives that transcend the boundaries of our country, that affect the region, that affect the continent, and the world at large. So at this juncture, permit me once again, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, permit me to appreciate the effort that has been put into this, the partnerships, the support, the sponsorship, the grants that have been provided to enable this great work. We want to assure you that as a university, we shall continue to foster the good of our society and also be able to continue developing knowledge and also disseminating knowledge and translate that knowledge into practical solutions, into services, into tools and techniques that can continue to inform and improve the well-being of our society. With those remarks, I once again thank you so much. Congratulations to the PI once again. Congratulations to the report. Congratulations to the policy briefs. And congratulations to the programs that will build the capacity that will follow up this launch eventually. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. May the good Lord bless you all. Yeah, I have been requested to invite Your Excellency Adekeni Ndieli, the UN Women representative, to speak to this audience.
Permit me to take off my mask. I'm far away from everyone. I usually say because of my unusual accent, you might need to see my lips. The Deputy Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, the Lady Justice Eve Luswata, colleagues from the United Nations in Uganda, the research team, distinguished women, peace and security actors in Uganda, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kemi Ndieli, and I am the head of office for UN Women at Interim, and it is a great pleasure to be here with you today. This is a very important project for UN Women, as Uganda has gone into its third phase of the National Action Plan. We believe that this entire process and the research around this would enable us have the tools in our hands and the tools in the hands of actors to be able to carry forward the agenda in the months and years ahead. UN Women has been supporting Makerere University Peace and Conflict Studies Center for the last 3 years to implement a project whose goal was to contribute to the establishment and the enabling environment for implementation of Women, Peace and Security Commitments, I would say WPS for short. The long-term goal of the project was to strengthen the implementation of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 in Uganda through research, publication, training, advocacy, and strong partnerships. This program contributes to SDG 5 on gender and SDG 16 on peace and security. A major focus of UN Women Uganda's role, and also a reason for our keen interest in partnership with the academia, is the fact that we can generate data that would help to inform decision-making and provide tools in the hands of actors to advance the peace agenda. UN Women has seized this opportunity, and this is part of the research that is being launched here today. For the benefit of all, I would like to give some background information about UN Security Council Resolution 1325, and I could call that 1325 for short. It is the resolution on peace and on women, peace and security, and that was the first, or let me say one of the first, ever adopted unanimously by the Security Council, and this happened on 31st of October 2000. The resolution acknowledged the disproportionate and unique impact of armed conflict on women and girls. The resolution calls for the adoption of a gender perspective to consider the special needs of women and girls during conflict, repatriation and resettlement, rehabilitation, reintegration, and post-conflict reconstruction, with its 4 pillars based on participation, prevention, protection, relief, and social-economic recovery. It is important to note that the programming interventions cannot be effective without data. And this is one of the major gaps that we continue to see in the development context, especially in Africa. And I'm happy to see quite a good range of representation from different countries in Africa here today. The Ministry of Labour and Social Development has been working closely also with UN Women in implementing the 2 previous national action plans, and together we have worked together to advance National Action Plan 3. This baseline data on implementation of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 in Uganda by Makerere University is therefore commendable, as it provides robust baseline information that peace actors can use in designing and implementing WPS intervention. The report has elaborated on how knowledge levels on UNSCR 1325 vary across districts, with districts affected by conflicts or those at risk of conflict demonstrating more awareness of UNSCR 1325. In fact, UN Women has been working with national actors to devolve the national action plans to local action plans. And for the first time, we're seeing local governments allocating up to 1% of their budgets to address peace and security issues, especially within the context of women's peace and security. And this is happening for the first time, and that is highly commendable. The study also profoundly notes that women's robust and holistic participation in peace processes have been invariably undermined by structural and systemic barriers. The single most important impediment to women's robust participation in decision-making processes and peace building in particular is none other than patriarchy. It is reinforced by cultural and religious norms and practices that persistently view women as inferior and do not give them the opportunity to participate. This calls for concerted efforts to address these limitations so that the role and the participation of women in peace processes is enhanced and actualized. In addition to the main report, Makerere University Rotary Peace Center has gone ahead to develop policy briefs. And of course, this you would, I'm sure you have received some of those. And these policy briefs focus on the 4 pillars I earlier mentioned on participation, prevention, protection, relief, and recovery. And from these pillars, these specific briefs provide tools for actors that they can specifically look at the roles of women within the context of peace and security, especially in terms of the judiciary, and I'm happy that Lady Justice Eve is here with us today, the police, academia, and of course the prisons, to mention but a few. This research contributes significantly towards the implementation of NAP 1325 and the WPS 2021 to 2025 in Uganda. The recommendations from this study will complement the implementation and the achievement of NAP 3 WPS goals and objectives. UN Women, with funding from the Embassy of Norway, supported the Ministry of Gender to develop this 3rd National Action Plan, and for the first time there was consultations down to the local government levels, and this shows the consensus that has come to the national level. It was launched by His Excellency the President in person as part of our work on International Women's Day last year, 8th of March. So we are celebrating this as a milestone, but more than that, we must look to ways in which we can disseminate this to duty bearers and rights holders and ensure that the recommendations are fully implemented. As I mentioned earlier, many of us are from different African countries. We formulate beautiful policies, and implementation has some heavy impediments. And therefore, we want to call on all actors to ensure that this is implemented and that resources are allocated to implement the recommendations that have emerged from this very important study. These kinds of reports will not only contribute to the strengthening of implementation of WPS agenda, but also bolster and safeguard against impunity in Uganda. We call upon the government of Uganda to champion the Women, Peace and Security agenda through constructive engagements that would be fruitful and will continue to witness in Uganda. We call on all actors to ensure that sufficient allocation of resources at all levels is put in place so that the WPS agenda is implemented not only at the national level, but also at sub-national level. Allow me at this point, before I wrap up, to appreciate and acknowledge the role of the academia towards the WPS agenda in Uganda. Specifically, I appreciate Makerere University through the Rotary Peace Center for incorporating UNSCR 1325 in its training curriculum as one of the course components, which is a very strategic approach to advancing this agenda. Please, let's put our hands together for that very important initiative. We also applaud the University Makerere Peace Center for their tireless efforts to see to it that we are able to generate the critical knowledge that is required to take this forward. We look forward to continuing such engagements with the university as well as other actors. And finally, I would like to appreciate very sincerely the Embassy of Norway for their unflinching support to the WPS agenda. In Uganda, we just recently signed a new contract with them. We're in the process of finalizing our new engagement that would enable us to take this forward over the next few years. Thank you for the generous support to UN Women's program on women's peace and security for the next few years. And as UN Women, yes, let's applaud the Royal Embassy of Norway. As UN Women, we pledge our continued support to such initiatives that would advance the rights of women here in Uganda and, of course, across the world. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, the UN Women Representative in Uganda. Allow me to recognize the arrival of the CAD, of Chief CAD, of Regional CAD. Oh, I should have taken the notes. You're very welcome. Yeah. Let me take this opportunity to ask the Deputy Vice Chancellor to please ask my Lady Justice, Eva Luswata, to please launch this report.
Yes, Your Lordship, the Justice Eva Luswata, it's a great honor and a pleasure to invite you to launch this report. Thank you so much.
You have to come here. You should say something. This is a very great honor, so we'd be happy to hear from you.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I already say I'm not very good at protocol, and I was actually caught unawares. Sorry, I'm a survivor, so I'm so careful. Yes, I'm the Deputy VC, and our colleagues from the different UN bodies, but especially UN Women, and the research team, Makerere University, and all the peace actors from Uganda and elsewhere. I'm very excited to see all of you from the other countries. I've been to Cameroon, Ghana, and of course Nairobi. But I would love to meet the person from Cameroon, because I have a very good friend from there. Sorry, I'm digressing. Everybody else who is here, my name is Eva Luswata Kauma. I'm a judge of the Court of Appeal in Uganda. But the reason I'm here, I'm, yes, representing the judiciary, but at the same time, I've been a woman activist for a long time. I worked as an advocate for 20 years before I joined the judiciary, and I did a lot of work in women's law, and it's an area that I hold to my heart. So it's not surprising that I'm here. I know that our country has gone through a lot of strife for so many years. Right from independence, we've never actually gotten peace. It could be civil strife internally, and then we've had also some strife coming from outside our borders. And it has affected communities all over the country, especially those living on the boundaries. And in all this, women have been important players. They've been important players mainly, unfortunately, as victims. But we've had a few who have even actually led rebellions. We had a woman who led a rebellion. So these kind of studies are very important to find the position of women. What is the position of women in these conflicts? First of all, we need to understand that. We need to understand what impacts them as their lived realities in these conflicts. Because we have these beautiful, like she said, we have the beautiful policies, we have this particular policy from the UN, but what about the lived realities of these women? So this report by people who understand these things is very important. And the fact that they decided to go out and speak to these women is very important. And so it's going to be very exciting to see how what they have found is going to be implemented to help women in protection, in participation, and the other pillars. The formulators and those who have been doing research were very keen on interesting the judiciary. And we're one of the people who went through training. I must admit, we didn't know much about the particular policy, but we were keen to learn about it. And we did inform them that as judges and magistrates, judicial officers, we sit in our courts and we wait for the conflicts to come to us, okay? And it's not very common to get conflicts to do with, that kind of conflicts. We normally do get domestic conflicts, but not national conflicts of that nature. But then among us, there are those who actually work on the borders. They actually work even IDPs. So those are people who had a lot to share. But any conflict resolution without participation of a judiciary probably will not go far. Because if women are going to get relief, some of the reliefs are through judicial pronouncements. So that is why the judiciary was asked to participate, and we're very glad to be part of it. So with that, I'm very honored to have been asked to launch the report. Thank you very much.
Yes, so I think so we're going to ask my lady Justice, the UN Women Representative and the Vice Chancellor, with the Principal and Dean, to please launch by signing the report. It should happen, I think, at the backstage here. Yeah.
Let me welcome Harvard.
Omukono gwono gunkubanga mwenge okutula n'ennyingo okutomeza n'ebisenge addicted to hauling a sente. Tally on expiry date. Pulling a sera.
We are formally launching the report by signing it for. Whoopsie. My signature is very fine. Good.
The date is 20th.
Members, maybe I would like to take this opportunity to invite the guests to a cup of tea in the next room. I'll ask that the PI escorts the Deputy Vice Chancellor and the UN Women representative and the rest of the dignitaries to a cup of tea upstairs.
As you know, it's Ramadan, so I will be escorting the Deputy Vice Chancellor to the next place of prayer.
Okay.
Yes. And the rest we can proceed and have a cup of tea.
Okay, please. The PIs, deputy PIs, can you please take the visitors to a cup of tea upstairs? Everybody, you're welcome. You're leading the guests. Yes, please. The DVC. Our fellows, you're welcome for a cup of tea. Our guests from the police, the prisons. Can we have 15 minutes of tea, then come back for the presentation of the report? You're taking, that will be your what? Your right. This side.
kutula uliwe kulaba kendo power. Tell me now, love panic kendo power. Panic kendo kutula uliwe kulaba kendo power. Tell me now, love panic kendo power. Emi miro chekute, emi mwambe jesi. Kami teke tento to see. Umanga wali wose chenga, wali wechi buzo babi chembuza. Why is that a lose control every time that you come around? Tell me now, love panic and power. Panicking and kutula. Tell me now, love panic and power. You say, let me give you a secret check. Deepest of my heart is the safest place. So baby, turn to me and say, girl, I love your body. I panic when I see your body. I admire my baby's body. Hey, yeah. Baby, when you turn up, nothing one that I know. Everywhere you go, I come follow. Panic, yeah. What do you want to love? I can't know if I want. Tell me now, love panic and power. Panic, yeah. What do you want to love? I can't know if I want. Tell me now, love panic and power. Chichi mubango tuse ebira eulange onda vire nyo viola timutsu ebambi omuwena kafananyi akubambya la venga koma yo ambenga mumeme nange mumeme mumeme alina kabiri viola akayo yo bambi okokosa kaino akalalo kosi wenze jokira eri nyalye okulyogera omelwa kosi mbe kono nazani kosi dalungise obulire tebulaya abawala banya balungi ekyo tekibutiisa gayola mahanga wange mama gayola mwagala kamba temperature go them rise. If you leave me, I go die. I swear. You are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest. Your love will be totally. I'm so obsessed. I want to talk. Nobody did work on this thing. Open and make us sing. Give me love for one thing. You make a bad man sing. Sagala tukati wenga yeze kuitatia Woli mukakagali Kaliya Berende Sagala tukati wenga yeze kuitatia Tugende muchachi Wafuka my baby Wetuluka kane, you're the one that I've been looking for Tugende muchachi Wafuka my baby Wetuluka kane, you're the one that I've been looking for Kankuve petatongana Sasa butambira ngomwana Labo ya fidala ya kusabira Tumeka tetwawukana Nabi nina kwa visana I want you more than that I wanna be the father Tugende muchachi Ofuke my baby Wetuluka kane, you're the one that I've been looking for Tugende muchachi Ofuke my baby Wetuluka kane, you're the one that I've been looking for Tugende muchachi Ofuke my baby Wetuluka kane, you're the one that I've been looking for Tugende muchachi Ofuke my baby You're the one Oh, love, love, love One What if I couldn't speak? What if I couldn't live? What if I couldn't move? You still love me? What if my body aches and always it makes you late? What if I couldn't wait? Would you love me when it's hard and the lights falling apart? If the things that we was new long ago, if the blue sky starts to gray and the memory fades away, and the memory fades away, will you still love me? Would you love me when it's hard and the lights falling apart? If the things that we was new long ago, if the blue sky starts to gray and the memory fades away, and the memory fades away, will you still love me? Will you still love me? Will you still love me? But girl, you are nice. Onta demo kasunda basi. Oli wape, toli walais. Ulete Gucci over Versace. Oli quality, toli muchukuni tuba over China. Kali Quarity, Wabulon Shamula, Wakalanyo, Ella, Musai, Wantamza, Rujigre Kagali, Olusi, and the Musani. Joe Brighton, my day, Uli Watamula, Shamula, one no inside. Joe come my way, Uli Rosembe, Uli no inside. So let me wire work. This I like my things alright. When you so pakale, you move changa na salale. No tula nene uzazani. Ayakalo mulunjinga kwe. Mingele chiwato chucho wechikonda. bitongana nguloga Linalia mususa Ninga edilisa mususa Chuwakala wanke chuchusa Ewe changa chunga baby chula Kala tusene mutokot Kala tusene mutokot Ula wansibera hambo Ochimanyete bangana Afasa inguloga Yese nguloga Baby tongana nguloga Yese nguloga Afasa inguloga Yese nguloga Baby tongana I don't drink coffee, I take tea, my dear. I like my bed done one by side. You can hear it in my accent when I talk. I'm an Englishman in New York. See me walking down the Fifth Avenue. Walking cranny by my side. I take it everywhere I walk. I'm an Englishman in New York. Oh, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Just a little tenderness at the end of the day. So long woman need take her fears away. No, 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 no. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. Oh, cold, the world's so cold. Me want someone, me have empty hole. The other night when the feeling's so right, hug me up, squeeze me up, make me feel right. Forget the problems, everybody have them tonight. Each is in my heart, just wanna lay with you. In the island, in the sea of confusion. Just a little tenderness at the end of the day. So long woman need take her fears away. Just a little tenderness when the lights down low. It's only just you people, you people, you people. Davidawa, oh we don't need it. We see it, they want know. Every no man and no beauty. Chego sabanyabo, onyibire oyimba. Obaga oyimba.
She can come in
No man ebelo. Edo osirio, yagala uchi. Enyimbazo, edagala, eriponye naku. Nyabo imbira, oluyimba. Nyabo omuyimbi, imbira oluyimba, zezanyuke. Onyimbira bulungi nnyo, ennyo style. ndetse kusaba onyimbira oluyimba nyimbira oluyimba nyabo omuyimbi nyimbira oluyimba zazalike onyimbira bulungi nnyo ennyoza nyabo omuyimbi. What's how we do in the dark? What's how we do so deep? What's how we do in the dark? To say you know never done for my
Can start.
What shall we do in the dark?
Welcome back from your break. This mid-morning, would like to proceed with our presentation, and I would like to ask the Chief Principal Investigator to introduce the main presenter for the day. Those of you who have attended from the broader community that was consulted, our guests from Kasese, Gulu, Arua, Iganga, Jinja, you're all very welcome. In a special way, would like to thank our regional CAD, Dr. Boa Hussein, who has made it here. He was very instrumental in the kind of work that we did, and he has all his entourage here. Maybe you can stand up for recognition. And the group from Kasese. I know there are a couple of others out there. The police force, stand up for recognition. The prisons department. My Lady Justice mentioned how she got the opportunity to be trained in 1325 and all other resolutions that followed. And I believe is already a representative and advocate of this resolution. Before we can start, I would like to introduce once again our principal investigator, who I will ask to introduce the presenters for the day. That will be followed by a brief panel discussion and Q&A, and then we shall hear some closing remarks from the Norwegian Embassy here in Uganda. Maybe we can start opening the presentation. Yes, but you're very welcome. Isaac, would you like to read from here, or? Okay. Dr. Helen, maybe you could introduce Isaac again.
Dear friends, I have the honor not only to introduce Isaac, but as we come to the end of this, I would like to, in a very special way, recognize a very special team, without which we would not be here. Joanita, can the team from UN Women stand up? I have reasons. Diana, Hadija, Alan. Friends, without those strong ladies, I'm very sure I would not be here. They may not be standing in the position that I'm standing in now, but the position I stand in right now is one of leadership. This work was done by a team, including them, and we are grateful. And in a very short while, we shall be having a few people joining us up here to tell us more about what happened after these findings in terms of trainings. And that's where we were honored to have Lady Justice Eva Luswata. I always tell her I'm proud of her. So I have the honor to introduce Isaac. Isaac is the youngest on our team in age, and it is very deliberate that we want Isaac to present the report. Not because he's young, but because Makerere University believes in mentorship. As we age out, my deputy principal encourages us always to make sure that the next in command is prepared. So Isaac, please have the platform, and we are confident that you'll say exactly what we would have said.
Thanks, Helen. Okay, I'd like to present this, and I hope it will take a really short time. So the title for our report is 20 Years of UNSCR 1325 in Uganda, Perceptions, Knowledge and Implementation. And as you can see, this was worked on in collaboration with Makerere University Peace Center, the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Kampala, and UN Women. We are grateful that you were part of us. That's the team with Helen as our lead, and I am somewhere there. So as part of this, we'll look at what this really entailed, the methodologies that we worked with, and our scope, our findings, and conclusion and recommendation. And we will talk a lot about some of these things. So one of the things that you probably see in there, and this is something that has been said, is that this report is an outcome of a study commissioned by the UN Women and Makerere University Department of Religion and Peace Studies. It was funded by the Royal Norwegian Embassy in Uganda. We wanted to establish the scope of women's full, equal, and meaningful participation, and this for us is important, the issue of effective women and meaningful women participation in peace processes and security issues in Uganda, as spelled out by UNSCR 1325, which was, as we have known before, started in 2000 or passed in 2000 on women, peace and security. As a team, we wanted to establish the knowledge levels of UNSCR 1325. We wanted to examine the perceptions and receptions of UNSCR 1325. I think I'm about to start calling it 1325 like someone did. To identify how indigenous culture and religious beliefs, values and attitudes have impacted the implementation of 1325 in Uganda. We also wanted to explore the contribution of women to the 4 pillars of 1325 and to explore the factors that impede women's agency and participation in the pillars of the WPS agenda. As part of our work, we worked with a survey. We also worked with key informant interviews. We had focus group discussions, and we also did desktop reviews. We were able to cover a huge chunk of this country, and as you can see, West Nile took the biggest response rate, and that was followed by Western Uganda, and then Eastern Uganda. We also have Southern Uganda, which was rather far eastern, which was 12.4%. Regarding characteristics of our respondents, we thought about the location regarding the rural and urban, the gender issues, the age issues, nationality, religion, occupation, and the issue of disability that came up. Now, as part of our findings, we noticed that women are engaging in the pillars of 1325, such as participation, prevention, protection, relief, and recovery, even if they might not know that that is actually 1325 that they're implementing. And that was something that came from a male respondent. Region's knowledge of 1325, as we can see, Northern Uganda took the lead with 22.7%, followed by West Nile, Eastern, and then Western, and Central Uganda was the lowest regarding knowledge levels of UNSCR. We realized that perceptions about 1325 vary widely from progressive and appreciative views of its potential benefits for women and communities to conservative and even resistance to the core values of the WPS agenda. As we will go on with this report, you'll notice that lots of issues, and I know that Helen and I and the team have really talked a lot about the issue of patriarchy and gender barriers, and of course social cultural barriers that are involved within gender and patriarchy are things that we'll notice that come up regarding these perceptions. There is the idea that women are looked at, or actually there is the idea that this whole thing of 1325 is about women. And like one cultural leader said, before you people, and please you people is said in an interesting way, and CSOs started pushing funds into these things of women. And that already shows you the whole strange way in which gender plays a part in how 1325 is looked at. So someone says, before you started pushing funds into these things of women, there was no wars in families. But then foreign agencies started paying the women. Then the fighting increased. And that's an interesting argument from a cultural leader. But the idea, of course, with this comes with foreign ideas that are presented in 1325. And this, of course, comes also with the idea of public and private spaces, that women occupy a private space while the men can easily transcend between private and public spaces. So the whole idea of gender violence is looked at as a private matter that should not be spread. And reporting cases of sexual and gender-based violence to the police is perceived as a taboo in many regions. It was also reported that some women who seek justice in these regions are frequently advised by the law enforcement officers to resolve the issues at family level. So we can see how beliefs about the private are things that are looked at as sacred and should not go beyond what families or communities think about, and also they should not move into the public sphere. Regarding participation, we noticed that the participation pillar calls for increased participation of women at all levels of decision making. And this is where we really were keen to think about meaningful participation. As a pillar, there's been comparatively greater traction. This is attributed to the conducive policy framework and institutional mechanisms guaranteeing women's participation in decision-making processes. So civil society organizations and development partners have also been credited for their instrumental role in actualizing women's participation in peace-building processes. Regarding regional levels in participation pillar, Eastern region has the bigger chunk of 21.79%, and this is followed by West Nile, which is at 20.25%. We have the northern and western regions sharing 19.55%, and the central region still comes the least at, the central region comes the least at 18.86%. I hate to say this sometimes, but the Central Region is really doing so badly in this regard. And I know that I've shared this during the regional dissemination workshop, but something that we will think about as we go on. So about participation, of course, the most important thing is it meaningful participation? Because that is key in the idea of women participation. And there are 8 levels, of course, of participation. And we have the typical levels of non-participation. We have a high degree of tokenism by the elite, and we have power sharing between elites and citizens. However, it was found in the women, rather that women in the districts that were surveyed, that most of the women participate up to the point of placation. And placation is where give them something and they will keep quiet. More like that. So you don't give them the chance to hold positions of power. And placation is also about really if we can find a way of silencing them, we will silence them. And that again, of course, takes women back to the background and to the peripheral spaces, as we will notice. We realize that regarding effective participation, financial challenges, low education levels for the women, and then we have the social cultural factors and limited spaces and environment for participation were really big challenges to women participation, meaningful participation. Regarding cultural impediments, as you can see, the masculine mystique is still big in our communities. We have cultural biases and stereotyping. And then there is the issue of the culture of harassment and the domestic responsibilities that women have. So in order to address these challenges, our respondents suggested involving women, providing safe spaces for women, mobilizing resources for the women, and also working on teaching that encourages women and girls' inclusion, but also helping women to cope emotionally when it comes to issues of participation. Regarding the prevention pillar, which is the second pillar that we want to look at, peace and security agenda, the second pillar requires that women are at the center of conflict prevention. The pillar also emphasizes the prevention of all forms of violence against women and girls in conflict and post-conflict situations. As we will see, regarding the challenges, something is happening to us. I think we have a Zoom something happening. Yeah. There's a hijack somewhere. Okay. Regarding challenges, we have gender biases and stereotypes. Where women have this inferiority complex that keeps coming. And they say, as women, we are told that we're inferior, so that hinders us from giving what we have. But also when we talk, the men bully us since we know that we are inferior and that what we say is perceived as nonsense. We choose not to talk, and this curtails our good ideas. Another person says, definitely, I think not only we do that, but everywhere, you will raise your voice to speak and they will shut you up. That comes with the gender biases, where women find themselves placed in the community. But we also have the idea of self-preservation, where someone says, for those of us who are married, in-laws limit us from voicing our opinions. They will say that we shall see where she will end. And when a woman seeks assistance from local leaders, we other women keep quiet to protect our marriages and to protect our votes. So there is that issue of self-preservation that comes in. But then there is also patriarchy and masculinity and emasculation, where, for example, someone says, now in most cases, women holding positions of power have been battered as a way of making them bow before the men. And that is an aspect that comes with power plays in homes, and how that, of course, then brings in the disparity between the private and public spheres, and where while you belong to the public sphere as a leader, in the private sphere you're still looked at as the peripheral or marginalized person, and so you have no voice that needs to speak. And of course, regarding mitigation measures for this, we think there is need for stronger collaboration between duty bearers and rights holders, mindset change. We need to work on legal mechanisms, and respondents underscored the importance of strengthening the referral mechanisms and implementation of existing laws. We also need a lot more community engagement. Regarding our preventive systems, we know that there are preventive systems to SGBV. Women need to be part of the security agents, but also the preventive system needs to be more inclusive, not just for the men. And factors that pose challenges concerning women involvement in the prevention of insecurities, and then there is need for laws that can be created. And we looked at 4 general preventive systems that could be put in place. We have administrative structures which deal with the family court and caretakers and sub-counties. We have the legal frameworks which again go with the courts of law and ordinances and mediation. We have the creative space for women to air their views, where we have women getting spaces like radio and talk shows in churches, in security organs, and then we have community sensitization, where we have issues of community policing and encouraging the education of women. And all these are things that we could put in place as responsive, rather preventive systems. Regarding the protection pillar, within the context of the WPS agenda, protection refers to active measures to protect the physical integrity, safety, and well-being of women and girls in times of peace and conflict. The protection pillar has a specific focus on protecting women and girls from sexual and gender-based violence, especially during periods of conflict. However, from our study, despite the existence of comprehensive policies and frameworks, there's high incidences of sexual and gender-based violence in all the districts that were surveyed. And we have especially domestic violence, intimate partner violence, rape, defilement, sexual exploitation, and abuse and trafficking. And these are really problematic things sometimes to talk about and to think about. Regarding these, we have some risk factors, gender norms and negative cultural practices. We have female genital mutilation still as an issue. We have courtship practices that permit rape and sexual assault. We have overly used, rather misused dowry system that reduces women's agency to mere property. We of course have negative coping mechanisms such as early marriage and prostitution. And these are all things that we really need to very much think through. Mitigation measures and actors, we need to, in order for the protection of women, we need physical shields, we need communities, society organizations, civil society organizations to be involved, donors need to be involved. We also need an issue of dealing with the social cultural factors, and also thinking about organic development of cultures to find ways of creating spaces where women can actually be involved in so much more regarding protection. Regarding relief and recovery, this is the pillar that seeks to address the consequences of crises and conflict to build peaceful and prosperous societies based on gender equality and empowerment of women. However, our findings show that women are actively involved in relief and recovery efforts by participating in refugee welfare councils and disaster management committees. This is something that is on ground. However, this is also something that is contested in some areas, because then the question goes back, where is the women's meaningful participation? And so while this is what comes up in the data, we are also aware that the meaningful participation ends at a certain level. And like I said, it does not go beyond a specific level. You will notice from this that when it comes to relief and recovery, West Nile takes the lead. Now, as you will notice, most of the things with West Nile are taking the lead, and you'll also notice that Eastern Uganda takes the lead, because one, West Nile has had an upsurge of war, but also the issue of refugees, and so there is a lot more involvement for the women. And Eastern Uganda, especially Busoga and Bugisu region, we have the disasters. We have the Bududa landslides, and women have really been most affected in there, but also they've been able to be part of the relief and recovery in there. So That is important. And when it comes to women in relief and recovery, again, socio-cultural barriers, structural insecurities, poor information flow, increasing disasters, and struggling women-headed households and ambassador husbands is still a challenge. When we talk of ambassador husbands, we are talking of men who are men at some point, and then they leave their homes and go elsewhere doing something else, and then when the money is done, they return to their homes. And this was something that was seen a lot regarding relief and recovery. And of course, the issue in there is that the women find themselves burdened by the madness and the chaos and disasters that surround them, while the men are totally away. Now, in thinking about 1325, we're thinking about reflections on how to strengthen the implementation of 1325. It is true that Uganda has registered significant progress in terms of women representation in decision-making spaces. However, transformative change anticipated by 1325 is yet to be realized. It appears that the glass ceiling has been maintained by patriarchal gender norms and stereotypes. Women are still mostly represented and active in peace processes at community level, and in roles that parallel their stereotype traditional roles as nurturers and caregivers. Women's low literacy has been brought up as a constraint to women's leadership by both women and men, but it was also evident that addressing underlying structural factors, and in particular transforming patriarchal gender norms, is critical to strengthening the implementation and realization of 1325. In that regard, we need to align the Domestic Violence Act and other laws to the aspirations of 1325. We need to unpack the concept of empowerment to both men and women. We need to promote political and economic empowerment. And of course, we need to transform patriarchal gender norms. This might be a long process, but and now this is coming from what I do, but we believe for places where communities sit and talk about these things, have conversations and find ways of how to deal with patriarchy. And while it might be disruptive to patriarchy, it is also something that we need to continually think about. So as we implement NAP 3, we need to think a lot about women empowerment. We need to think about transforming our cultural institutions' role and also our religious institutions' role. We also need to think a lot more about knowledge management and help in building women capacity. So as I conclude, I would like us to think about the fact that it is important for us to think about the key factors that constrain the operationalization of UNSCR 1325. And in doing that, government needs to increase awareness about 1325. It needs to support localization and institutionalization of NAP 3. And I know that this is happening, and I'm also very much aware that the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development is keen to support districts and local authorities on localizing NAP 3. And then there's also the need, development partners need to report efforts to popularize and increase awareness of 1325, NAP 3, and especially the WPS agenda. There is need for more funding and also need to support efforts to enhance women's leadership. And when we talk about cultural institutions, that is religious and culture, there is need to support women's leadership, and also there is need to lead by example. And community organizations need to create co-curricular activities in schools that may be a good approach through founding of UNSCR 1325 peace clubs. The reason we think this is if people are given the chance to know about WPS right from their childhood, it's going to be easy for us to popularize it. If we do it later on, then there are stereotypes and things that have been built over the time that might be hard to challenge. But if it starts while they're still able to formulate the way they think about communities and societies, it's going to be an easier task. I would like to thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much.
much, Isaac. If I had 10 hands, I would be clapping again for you. It's always a pleasure having you, Isaac, on this podium. Friends, after those findings, with support from UN Women and the Royal Embassy of Norway, the center went ahead to build capacity and kind of intervene on some of these critical things. So instead of us having questions and discussions about this report, I'm going to invite some of our people that we are trained following this. For example, we're already having the regional Kadi on the table, and he has been very instrumental in collecting texts, and they work together with the bishops. We told you that the people here are just representing others. So the regional Kadi led the team of bishops, and both Anglican and Catholic and Lutheran, and I think also Adventists, and they came up with texts that are encouraging and supporting women's engagement from the holy books. So he will stay up and he will be telling us more about that, and that was after our finding that it's important to have the religious leaders on board. I'm glad to invite the Minister for the Chabazingership up, Honorable Udaya, who is working very closely with the culture leaders in the region to address issues of patriarchy, and she'll be saying more about that. In this room, we are also honored to have CSOs represented. We have Honorable Florence Kintu from the Renzoris, and we also have the GLPC ED, Farouk. Please, you'll be joining up here to tell us more as we get into the discussions. We are also honored to have the Uganda Police Force as well as the Uganda Prison Services, who are also part of our trainees. And of course, our dear friend, Her Lordship, is already up. She was also part of the first cohort of the judiciary that we trained. So they will be taking us through what they have done after the training and what is it that they received. But we shall also be happy to hear more about what more can be done, since we have the UN Women here with us, and we are also thinking of strengthening the implementation of NAP 3. I don't know who will come up of the two UPFs and prisons. Please, either of you can come up. Kibedi, if you have something to add on CSOs, please feel free to add on. But you can also feel comfortable to stay where you are, and you just raise your hand and we bring the mic when you have a contribution to make. So at this juncture, I would like to hand back to Dr. Charlotte, who will be taking us through. I think we shall be taking a minute of each of our people that we train to just give a window into the trainings that they received in view of the findings that we got. Because the aim of the baseline was to create ground for intervention, and this is the training that we did. We know we can do more and we should do more, but it's good for you to hear what has been done so far as the implementation is concerned. And we do this in the spirit of strengthening the implementation of National Action Plan 3 that was launched last year, as already said by the country representative of the UN.
Thank you, Dr. Helen. I'll take it from there. In this group, we have adopted a saying that everything seems to always be top down. But now we are saying bottom up. The people on the ground, our teachers, our mentors, our doers of actions. So we're hearing from them, and we'll give them each at least maybe 2 to 3, 4 minutes to say exactly where they've gone and taken the initial training. We also believe in participation, because we can't only talk about 1325 without us having the people participate. So besides them being part of the research, they are part of the people who are greatly entrenching the ideals and values of the 1325 in the communities. So you're very welcome to this morning. Our dear guest, the UN Women Representative in Uganda. This is a very rare opportunity. Often when reports are being made, the community is not there. It's big people talking to each other, group leaders, but today we have the honor to present to you some of the people who represented others here today, but also who partook of what we trained within the 1325. So you're very welcome. May I ask that I start with the regional card. I think you...
I don't know how I go within the protocol. Brothers and sisters, you are most welcome in this function where we are talking about women, peace and security. We want to thank our organizers who last time came to Jinja, and we really got a very nice discussions about what we are talking today, inshallah. So, today I'm talking about women, peace. We said that the emancipation of woman cannot be complete unless it is coupled with the emancipation of men. And that is how the religion believes that a woman has her rights fully. But beside, there should be a man. And this can only be accomplished by drawing our social values from the Quran and the Sunnah. When we look at the Quran and the Sunnah, the values it brings before us, there we can feel that really a woman has full rights. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. That men are superior to women. They are the maintainers, protectors of women, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them to excel the other, and because of what they spend from their wealth. Today you find that women are saying that they are thrown away. Their husbands have left them doing everything. We say yes, partly, but here, being superior means that what they pay from their wealth at the beginning of their journey, their marriage journey, is what is looked at. because you have never seen I don't know whether there is a tribe where a woman pays when they are starting their marriage, where a woman pays to a man some dowry. So, mixed social life was the pattern in the early Muslim society established by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who demonstrated the status of Muslim woman that is a great different from, which is great different from what assumed in most Muslim society today. Not only Muslim society, but maybe in all societies of today. There is a very big difference between what Muhammad put on the ground for a woman, for her peace. We look at a woman as having a significant role in the society, and that is at home, school, hospital, mosques, churches. Because some people, when we talk about woman or her participation in leadership or socio-economic, some other people may think that we are talking about her sitting in office or becoming a leader in a state. But not only that, her home, where we create a decent nation. When we look at what is happening today, corruption, girls moving naked, drugs, all those are coming from where? From home. Because both parents has left their home. And now it is either the school to train those people, those children, or they train from peers. So that's why Islam look at a woman that her first place should stay at home. Because there are so many activities to create this nation, to build this nation from home. Then the Prophet ﷺ said that لا يفلح قوم ولوا أمرهم امرأة. That hadith which says that people will not succeed who select a woman as their leader. That hadith, that is a hadith, but it was understood wrongly. Some other scholars think or taken this hadith on its face, and they say that it is not permissible for a woman to participate in public work or public administration, as they have no right to vote. No, it's not like that. That contradicts the general rules of Sharia, which stipulates equality between men and women in rights and duties, except as required by the special nature of each of them. That's why we looked at the resolution 1325 participation, protection, prevention. That is what Islam is working about. To protect a woman, to prevent violence, and again, to intervene whenever those things happen. The Quran says, فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ أَنِّي لَا أُضِيعُ عَمَلَ عَامِلٍ مِّنْكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never lose any action done by either female or male. That is the equality. And again, said, "Man amila salih min dhakarin aw untha wa huwa mu'minu falanuhyiyannahu hayatan tayyiba." Whoever do a good, okay, either from male or female, is going to be resulted to be rewarded equally. So for us at the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, what have we done to a woman? First of all, we included her in our constitution, which was not the case before. In leadership, we have the Amira at each level of our Uganda Muslim Council leadership. Say at mosque, Twale, district, region, and the headquarters. We have that one, who deals with what? With the Dawa issues. And again, we have a secretary of women on every level, dealing with administration issues. Then we have head teachers, we have so many head teachers leading secondary schools. That is leadership. And in socio-economic development, we have, we taught a woman to lead in development issues like poultry, goat rearing, nurses in hospitals. We have tellers in banks, treasurers in organizations, lecturers in universities. So all those are what Uganda Muslim Supreme Council is dealing with to empower a woman and give her security through what she learns. Then we have so many texts we have written. I think I shall organize them very well and send it to you, inshallah.
Thank you.
Because the time has been is little. But I thank you for really inviting me to this function, and I hope that we shall produce a good text for the nation to use, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. CAD, regional CAD, I think two greatest takeaways. The initiative to include women has been prioritized, and I think that is what we were really looking out for. May I now please invite the representative from actually the ED of the Great Lakes Institute of Peace.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Farouk Chibaba. I work with Great Lakes Peace Center in Ise. It's a youth-led organization that particularly supports youth and young women issues in the Rwenzori region. And also working in other areas in Uganda, but for this program particularly, I want to say great thanks to Makerere University Peace Center for the support through the UN Women project. We were involved in a series of trainings, and these trainings, first and foremost, brought us to the table of understanding the position of women in society, how best we can be able to support this, especially by working with women groups, but also issues of dispute resolution, especially in the Rwenzori region, where this has been so prominent. Now, to spare you a lot of details about what happened in our trainings, I want to give a summary of what we have been doing in the region, but also my colleague from Bundi Bujo will be giving you specifically the works they have been doing locally with the cultural institution in Bundi Bujo and the women fraternities there in Kabarole and Bundi Bujo. At the moment, we have more than 900 women that have been reached directly with the message of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325. And the good news, as has been already reported in the launch of the study, it is very important to know that out there, people are already doing some of these things, but they do not know that they're actually doing them, and they need only to be amplified. And what we have been doing or trying to enlighten them on is to bring them to knowledge that they are doing it, and being able to teach them how to do it better or amplifying it. We have also been able to reach out to more than 1,000 women only in Kasese through our cultural institution. While we had our training, we invited a number of members from the cultural institution, the Businga Rwenzori, and we have worked through their platforms. They hold monthly meetings, which we call Ebyaanda. Ebyaanda are neighborhood assemblies, which happen in several sub-counties, but mostly in sub-counties which have been most affected by conflicts in Kasese. And women have been brought to the front line, and actually it's women who organize these forums, moderate these forums, and also leaders, especially the LC3s, who are usually the topmost leaders there, have embraced these forums and have been always attending to give feedback, but also to ensure that the forums continue. All these are organized using local generated resources, as we were already working in these communities. The most important thing that has already been attached by the kingdom, the Businga Rwenzori kingdom, is the issue of withdrawing. There used to be a word, a cultural practice called returning the wealth, the bride wealth, when you divorce. It's called Engomolo. And the Obusinga Rwenzori has already pronounced itself on this, saying that it is not permissible for a woman to return bride wealth when they divorce with the husband, even after giving birth to 7 children. So these have been debates, and the good news from these engagements is that this has been so far been able to be addressed. And it is still facing a lot of criticism, and we are still doing a lot to take it to faces of people, to different faces of shades of opinions, to make sure the elders can also embrace it and take it through their work. Finally, we have also been able to hold radio talk shows with support from available local partners, like the RDC's office usually have talk shows, which they have always offered us to use as an opportunity to speak to the people. We also have tapped through the local government airtime talk shows on radio stations, which we have used to amplify our messages. Finally, we have worked with 3 kingdoms closely. This relationship is still at initial stages, and we hope we are going to grow this relationship. The Budingia Wabwamba, the Rwenzururu Kingdom, and the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom. Especially in the Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, we are working with the Queen and through her foundation. So we are hoping that we are going to be able to do a lot as far as women empowerment, but also putting into action the 1325 UN Security Council resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for keeping the time. Let me ask your nearest neighbor to speak first in terms of region as we pass on. Thank you.
Unfortunately, the people I wanted to speak to have all left. But I know they are recording this. Thank you so much. Like I've been introduced, I'm OHT Bwayudaya Babirye. I am the minister in charge of the Chabazinga affairs, or the King's affairs in Busoga Kingdom. I bring greetings from His Majesty, the Chabazinga of Busoga, who is very keen about the girl child in our region. First of all, I want to thank those who came to Ginger to train us, especially Madame Helen and the team. They really did a good job. They were very patient with us, with all our stereotypes and questions. They were very patient and accommodative. I would like to say that that training was very beneficial in a way that we understood better how the international community is positioning women and why it is important for the cultural institutions to take action. Like many speakers, and even in your report, we are normally looked at cultural institutions, or cultural leaders are looked at as the barriers, the impediment, and everything like that. But I want to comfort you and tell you that much as the stereotype is that cultural institutions have a lot of negative aspects to women empowerment, the reality is a bit different, because like in our setup, we have roles for women. Like in our culture, we have a senga. The role of a senga in a clan or in a home is very big, that she can even overrule a father or somebody in authority. But before I even say about the positives in our cultures, I want to inform you that for us, what we did after the training, we went and briefed the king about the UNSCR 1325 and focus of the NAP3, and also what we learned that the UN Women is doing. We briefed him and he was very positive about it. We also briefed the Luchiko, the clan heads, and all the structures of the kingdom. Now everybody is excited and saying, okay, we know about this, but how do we then, because if we are taken as people who may be the impediment, we have to be part of the solution, and we have to do it aggressively by mainstreaming this agenda and the pillars of the 1325 resolution into our programs and actions. So we have set up a committee because, as you all know, in our region, kingdoms are listened to. People are emotional about culture and cultural institutions, and people listen to the king and whoever is in that line more than they would listen to local authorities, local government, and anyone else. So we are ready to take up that. I also, in my personal capacity, talked to the Abambeda, the princesses, and these also hold a very high position in our cultural institutions, who came up with so many ideas of how we can actually strengthen this resolution in the kingdom structures. So we have what to do, we have activities which we can do, but we are constrained with facilitation, because we need, they were saying we need to take it to the people, we need to take it downwards. The kingdom has structures up to the home, in that even the Lady Justice here, if her clan head talk to her, she will listen more and it will be more responded to more than anyone else. So we have to conduct sensitization workshops for their leaders and go down cascading up to the Muluka or Makakumi setup. So we have challenges of funding, we have challenges of technical support, which we know maybe you can actually come up and help us so that we can take it further and be part of the solution to this challenge of women, peace and security in our society. I would say more, but because of time, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and to say that we are ready to work with both government and the UN Women to take this to the next level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Can we ask my Lady Justice to give us her take as well?
I'm sorry, I jumped the line because I have to leave, as I said. But let me just say a few things. I think we've ever had a dialogue before with with the group here. It was a Zoom meeting, and we did indicate that in the judiciary we can't say that we have directly implemented specifically the resolution specifically, but it has been ongoing by the nature of our work. We always deal with the pillars of prevention, the pillar of protection, and of course the pillar of redress, because people come to us after a dispute in the hope that they will, for example, in cases of violence, they will be protected from further violence and they will get redress, okay? So what we can say is that at the moment, the issue of prevention of violence against women and girls is an issue that is being taken very seriously in the judiciary at the moment, and all of us, even us who may have to be in a little know, we are going through a lot of training on how best to be judicial officers in such matters. And we have received specific support from UN Women and other organizations, and like IDLO. We are even being asked to be peer trainers in the area, and we pick those we see have a passion for it or have been trained in it so that we can train other judicial officers and roll it out. So what I could say probably take home is to see how this can also be incorporated in some of our trainings, because I can see when the report was they were giving us a summary of the report, the issue of violence against women and girls was given some emphasis, okay? So probably we may need a little bit more support in that way. Because I did say before that most of the cases, you're going to find them in areas where there has been a lot of conflict, and that is outside Kampala. And you're going to find that most of issues of violence, at least domestic violence, are handled by the lower cadre judicial officers, the magistrates. And those, you're going to find them all over the country. And some will be men who probably haven't gone through this kind of training. But when we train, we try to encourage, or we actually pointedly invite male judicial officers to be part of our trainings. You talked about, I think, mitigation, legal mechanisms that can address mitigation, and of course, referral mechanisms, and issues of barriers. That is an area of much interest in our trainings, barriers. Why aren't women accessing the courts? Okay? And I think this is an area where you are also interested. You might interest yourself in involving members of parliament in all of this, because judges do not make law. We just interpret them. So if you want better laws where you feel the laws are not strong enough, at the moment we have good laws, but maybe to improve them. Judges can only do what we call judgment law in our judgments. It is not a direct way of making law. It is a way where, as you interpret a law, you either align it to the Constitution, and by doing so you're making law, or you critique the legislature, but you cannot touch. That is not our area. So if we want to see good laws in these areas, please involve the legislature as well. Probably, like I said, a way of improving on our training, there should be some meaningful training for judicial officers who are working specifically in these areas, because we are dealing with conflict as a matter of personal conflicts, people coming to court on a personal level, but not on a macro level that probably the resolution addresses more. And so these people who are working in IDP camps, near to IDP camps, who have jurisdictions over IDP camps, may need specialized training. And I know that they do have mobile courts. They've encouraged mobile courts so that they can actually reach even IDP camps. We have not, I cannot say we have addressed that specifically under 1325. For the higher courts, because I work at a relatively higher court, we only deal with appeals. But again, issues of violence, we address them, because when it comes to issues of sentencing, for example, issues of reparation, 1325 will be relevant. And I emphasize that 1325, since it deals with conflict and peace situations, and the courts are not so much going to have access to the conflict areas, that is an area we can together look into and see how to address. That is about more. I had actually asked some of the magistrates. I'm sorry, I was only told yesterday about this meet, so I wasn't able to engage the younger judicial officers, but I've been trying to engage them here to see if they can send us their experiences, but they have not responded. But I can promise we can avail those. But I know there's a colleague here with us, Lillian. Lillian is a retired judicial officer, and she was a magistrate for a long time. She now works with FIDA. So I'm sure as she gives her own experiences, you know, from the FIDA perspective. FIDA is an association of women lawyers. She will touch on some of her own experiences in this line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my lady. Maybe just I'll ask the PI at the end to summarize all this, and just to let you know that we have engaged even the Parliament and it would be nice for her to tell us what they thought about 1325. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite the next speaker to please give us her report on what has been done since the training was effected in that region. And please allow me to ask the principal to bid farewell to my Lady Justice as she ends. Thank you very much for coming and for gracing our occasion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Kintu Florence. I represent Rwenzori Women Peace Forum, a women-led organization in the Rwenzori region, and working in partnership with the UN Women through the Makerere University Peace Center. And we are glad to be part of you. We thank you so much for having invited us, but not only inviting us, training us, and ensuring that the training sinks down to the grassroots. We thank you so much. I wish to observe protocol and say we are happy that you had your time off, your busy schedule to be with us here. First of all, who is Rwenzori Women Peace Forum? As I've said, we are a women-led organization in the Rwenzori region, having chapters in the different districts of the Rwenzori region. I also wish, on a special note, to thank Dr. Barije. I don't know if he's still here. He's one of the people who actually helped us to become Rwenzori Women for Peace Forum. Rwenzori region is a unique region with a lot of conflicts ranging from ethnical, land, name them. So when we had those bitter situations, Dr. Barije was one of the people that actually ensured that we come together as women in Rwenzori and come up with Rwenzori Women Peace Forum, and that's how it was born. We thank you so much, Dr. Barije. As Rwenzori Women Peace Forum, we don't work in isolation. We work with a number of organizations, and one of them that has been so much there with us is the Great Lakes Peace Center. The ED is here with us. Those are the youths that work hand in hand with the women. You know, you cannot separate the two. It's not possible. Part of the things that we have been doing is to engage a deliberate gender lens at every level to identify and analyze gender gaps and build on qualitative and quantitative evidence of gender-based vulnerabilities and impacts. Addressing structural gender challenges and equal gender relations and power dynamics, including the lack of ownership of land and other production assets, unequal division of labor, and inequitable decision-making that inhibit adaptation technologies and practices by women. Well, we are a lead organization in peace, conflict resolution, management, and reporting. We are also training and sensitizing women and encouraging them to be participatory in leadership responsibilities on different committees, religious, cultural, political, and civil societies. And we have engaged some of the cultural institutions, the members like the ministers, the women leaders, to ensure that we work hand in hand. Without involving the cultural institutions in the Rwenzori region, you can hardly achieve these goals. Under the UNSCR 1325 resolution, these are the things that we have really focused on. As RWPF, under the strengthening of implementation of UNSCR 1325, we have done training and advocacy of women, youth, and cultural institutions under the different setups. We continue to train women in conflict prevention and to incorporate those services into their regular group activities. Rwenzori Women for Peace Forum focuses on inter-ethnic conflicts to ensure they are reduced through involvement of women in processes that promote peaceful coexistence and cohesion in communities. This is done by increasing the number of women on peace ambassadors, different committees, youth and school clubs. We are now having peace school clubs in some schools, though not many. We are also empowering in leadership skills so as to effectively participate in conflict resolution management. I also wish to inform this platform that by the time you came to train us, we had got very good training headed by Dr. Barija under USAID SAFE. And so the women already had that bit of the knowledge that they are now using in addition to the training you have given them. I want to thank you all. We are also training the women in skills of mediation and negotiation as women peace ambassadors. Allow me to inform you that our barazas are working very well. People sit under trees and talk issues. Free, very free. We also have radio talk shows. We normally ask the office of the RDCs. And some people have some time on their different radios. And once in a while, we get the opportunity, though it's not much. I wish to inform you that Rwenzori as a region is a very unique one. I think it has the biggest number of cultural institutions. The Obukama bwa Toro, the Obusinga bwa Rwenzururu, Obudinja bwa Bwamba, Obukama bwa Bunyoro. So you can see that apart from the Bunyoro, where you'll find only that kingdom, the others are just mixed up. So without civil societies, it's not easy to manage people in those areas because there's a lot of conflicts from time to time, different conflicts because of the cultural institutions, one in another. Like Obusinga wa Rwenzururu, if you go to Bundibujo, it's the Budinja bwa Bwamba will say we are the owners, and yet the Obusinga bwa Rwenzururu are also there. So you need to know how to approach them, and this you can only do through the organizations that you are working with. I also want to talk about the challenges. Entrenched discriminatory cultural gender norms and attitudes, society continues to view men as powerful problem solvers and women as weak, vulnerable. The local councils are not entirely supporting NGOs empowering women in communities, the LOCs. Wide gap between technology development and users. The technology development agenda suffers from a lack of rigorous engagement with rural users, especially women, to identify needs and priorities. We have also learned lessons which we would like to share with you. Many of the issues of power and control and inequalities have cultural roots. The fact that payment of bride price brings a control imperative where women are also property is one of the root causes of the gender inequalities within households. This has a bearing on all aspects of life, ranging from resource allocation and control, roles and responsibilities in society, and therefore livelihood options and opportunities, as well as acceptable levels of empowerment. Therefore, our approach has been to involve cultural institutions in gender mainstreaming. The several kingdoms in Rwenzori, including Bunyoro, Kitara, Toro, Bwamba, and Rwenzururu kingdoms, need to have the right setup for gender mainstreaming. The deep-rooted structures of cultural leadership need to be used to address issues of conflicts and equality in their localities, considering the fact that people who subscribe to each cultural setup naturally have respect for the leaders, and behavior change is natural. In conclusion, over the last 2 decades, the government of Uganda has actively promoted women's empowerment and gender equality in both legal and policy arenas. However, the time to constructively involve cultural institutions is now, and not tomorrow. This involves good input in order to get better results. I want to thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much for this very, very illuminating presentation. Allow me to please still at least 4 more minutes so that we hear from our other colleagues on how far they've gone with their 1325. We have they're bringing the microphone. Would like to hear from the Uganda Police Force and the Uganda Prisons.
Thank you. I request to remain here.
Please do.
Yes, I observe protocol and thank you for the opportunity. In line with the 1325, UPF as an institution, after having the training and also the dialogue, there have been a number of improvement or achievements in the areas of like training, and in the area of training, like we have had an increase in the number of entrants in the UPF, especially the female officers. This number has kept improving, and therefore it in totality, at the end, it also increases on the percentage of women that are, it improves on the general percentage of female officers. Currently, we are moving towards realizing the 20%. It's just by a small percentage that is lacking to make 20 as we move towards achieving the 30% that is already leveled for us, like in the Constitution and also within the force. We have had also in the area of training, our UPF female officers and of course even the male are incorporated training or capacity building in the area of leadership. To be specific, transformational leadership. This is a training that helps women or that aims at improving the capability of women and also the attitude and to enhance or to improve, to encourage women to take up leadership roles, and therefore, as a result, it has also led to the appointment of female officers to different offices and capacities, like we have our deputy commandant here. It came like after achieving that training, and also we hope that she will again be elevated, God willing. We have had as a department of gender/women affairs, our department is charged, among the key functions that we do advocacy. We are charged with the responsibility of building a strong force of female officers. And in that, we go out to the different units or the field. We carry out empowerment, and this empowerment is in different areas to the female officers. We also do male engagement. In this, we involve the male officers. This is basically to change or to improve perceptions and attitude of male officers towards the female officers. How do we do this? We have designed a program just to give awareness and make them accept that, you see, we are all working in the same workspace, and therefore we need to support one another. And we also do outreaches to the different higher institutions of learning and also schools. This one, I can say it is like a soul-searching event. We encourage the people or the students that if opportunity avails, please join and come and serve with us. Also, at the universities and the different levels or the higher institutions of learning, we have an engagement with female officers on how to be security aware. All this is in a bid to empower the female gender. And those among, and also we have had an increase in the representation of female officers in the UPF, that is at the different levels, at the different committees. And we continue to advocate that really we should be given an opportunity, because then if you're given an opportunity, that is when we shall have the female officers showcase what they can and also be able to exhibit what they have or what they can. So this all starts with being given an opportunity to be able to get involved. But again, we have had, we also have some challenges. Of course, like much as we have our partners that have also come in to help us, but still the issue of funding, both to our partners and also by the institution, it may not be sufficient for us to be able to, we keep doing it in a phased manner. If this time we are here, the next time we are in another region, still to talk about or to sensitize our colleagues on different issues. And so that, and also still in funding, for us to be able to empower our female officers. So if the funding is limited, it does not enable us to do that, to carry out that activity well or sufficiently. So briefly that, I'll also give my colleague an opportunity just to blush through in anything that I may have missed out. Oh, the prisons, thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Stella. I'm representing prisons. First and foremost, I would like to first talk about previously, women involvement in leadership positions was very minimal. But right now, the women are in most of the leaders are at a certain percentage in the leadership positions. For example, previously, there were very few female officers who were commanding male prisons. But right now, whenever the officers in charge are appointed, we see a very big number of women. The number of women has increased. And also at the recruitment level, the number of the people recruited has also increased from about 20% to 30%. Then women have been empowered financially and economically. For example, we have in Luzira, we have this presidential initiative for skilling the girl child. But we have, after the training, we started encouraging the prison staff that whenever you are free, whenever you are not on duty, whenever you have a free time, please go take part and be empowered. So that was an achievement. Then previously, when the recruits are reporting for training, we used to them to test whether they are pregnant or not. So those ones we would find pregnant would say, go back. But these days, when you are pregnant, yes, we tell you go back, but after giving birth, next intake, you just come direct. So that is an achievement. Then we are sensitizing, we have sensitized the community and the people in the different stations that women can do very well what a man can do. And I think that has been an achievement. Thank you. Mine have been so brief.
From Uganda.
Yeah.
Tell us what they've done after.
Yeah, I want to point out two aspects where clause 1325 has been helpful to our area of operation. I'm Hakim from Peace and Action Worldwide, and from the training we had, from a background, like the regional Kazi has said, Busoga has been having challenges of our youth and young girls being involved in joining ADF, areas of violent extremism. And when from this training, we noted that women play a very important role as shock absorbers, as peace mediators in negotiating peace to help our young people come back to their respective communities. And from this training we were able to work with the Shekat under the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, training them. I also engaged with the Mothers Union. She's here, our chairperson, Mothers Union, from Jinja Diocese. We've worked with the Mothers Union to help create dialogue and sensitize young people, especially the women, on issues of violent extremism, and also, having peace ambassadors to create peace in the region. And then lastly, we had, of course, as an organization, we work with the district local government structures, and one of the challenges we noted was that we experienced GBV, gender-based violence, amongst the young people and the young girls. So we work with the women councils at the local level to train the young persons on GBV prevention. Thank you. But we also realized that to have a meaningful participation, we need to have to bring our women with disabilities on board. Yes. So there is that gap, disability inclusion. Mm-hmm. I think this should be taken into consideration, that how do we help our women with disabilities to have a meaningful participation in areas of livelihood, engagement, agriculture, education. This is needed. So we request to have more support so that we can bring this group on board. Thank you very much.
I think we need to give even a much louder clap, because throughout the day we've not had disability mentioned, although sometimes they say impairment, but I think that is a great brand that you've added to the collection. Thank you very much, members. I would like to ask that we end here. I know people have questions, but in the interest of time, because we have exams coming up, would like just also let all the members here present that we have a school and students population here attending who should stand up. Those of you who are from Makerere, students, stand up so that we can acknowledge your presence. I think these are all the future recruits in the police, in the prisons, in all these NGOs. I think what you've done for us today is demystified what this means when you work in the police or in the prisons, or if you run an NGO. You don't have to wait to be employed. You can also start some of the initiatives that we've had here today. Thank you very much, students, for attending, and we do hope that you've learned a great deal. Members, I would like to once again thank you and ask that we stand up and sing the anthem, and after that, walk back for lunch at the back door where we had our tea. Thank you very much.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, tuidumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much.
From north and south, all voices singing, arise, Makerere. Rise up and rise, high up and high, all voices singing, arise, Makerere. Great and mighty, the walls are round thee. Great and mighty, the gates beside thee. Great and mighty, the walls are round thee. Great and mighty, the gates beside thee.
Thank you very much, and please, members, can we lead our guests to lunch?